This is Mafia, the Dawn's silent vendetta. It's a story-driven action-adventure game from the creators of the popular Mafia series. So what's new here? This time around, you're replaying as a young man who gets caught up in the ruthless world of organized crime. You'll experience the story from two perspectives, both as the young man and his father, a former mobster trying to leave his criminal past behind him. The game begins with you playing as the young man getting married. Your father is nowhere to be seen, so you have to go out and find him. As you get closer to uncovering the truth about your family's history, you'll soon realize that the Mafia is not an organization you want to mess with. Even worse, you seem to be smack dab in the middle of a gang war. If you found yourself knee-deep in Mafia territory, how would you escape? In today's video, we're going over some tips and tricks to help you survive the Mafia. Coming up next. This is part 2 of our Tips and Tricks video series for Mafia, Definitive Edition. If you haven't already, make sure to check out part 1 for more helpful tips. Let's get started. Tip No. 1. Remember to clear your wanted level before completing an objective. During the early stages of the game, you might think it as a good idea to just barrel into an enemy checkpoint or run through the middle of a gang's territory. Sure, this will work every now and then, but eventually you're going to attract unwanted attention. Not only are you not accomplishing your objective, but you're now being hunted by the entire Mafia to clear your wanted level. Simply hide from the police long enough for the wanted meter above your head to dissipate. Once you've done so, the police will stop pursuing you, and you can safely make your way to your objective. Tip No. 2. Keep an eye on those rooftops. Even if you're not in combat, it's always a good idea to look up. If you hear gunshots in the distance or see smoke rising from a building, there's a good chance enemy combatants are watching you from above. Since you don't want to get ganked from behind, always make sure to check the rooftops before approaching a new area or entering a building. It's also a good idea to bring a sniper rifle along with you when venturing into enemy territory. From a long range, you can pick off enemies without having to worry about them returning fire. Plus, it can save you a lot of ammo compared to using a shotgun or submachine gun. It's tip No. 3. Do your best to avoid direct confrontations. Combat is not impossible in this game, but it's much more difficult than the previous games in the series. The developers intentionally made combat more challenging in an attempt to make the player feel like they're actually a member of the Mafia. Simply put, the Mafia doesn't roll out the welcome mat for outsiders. So if you find yourself face to face with a member of the Mafia, it's probably in your best interest to walk away. However, if you're backed into a corner and don't have an escape, you should absolutely fight back. The first time you're attacked, you'll panic and take a beating. But after the first attack, subsequent attacks become much easier to block and dodge. Just be aware that combat is one of the more difficult aspects of the game, so don't expect to make it out unscathed. Tip No. 4. Learn to use the environment to your advantage. Whether you're trying to sneak past an enemy or are pinned down by enemy gunfire, always look for ways to use your environment to your advantage. Collapsed buildings, civilian vehicles, and even lampposts can all serve as great sources of cover during intense shootouts. In addition, cars and motorcycles can be commandeered by the player and driven off. To distract enemy combatants, or used as a method of quickly escaping an area. Later in the game, you'll unlock the ability to use incendiary items such as Molotov cocktails, and can use these to flush out enemy combatants or burn down buildings. Remember, you don't always need to face your enemies head-on. Sometimes it is better to use the environment to get the drop on them, or to distract them long enough to sneak past. Tip number 5. Read the newspaper to learn about the city. One of the most intriguing aspects of Mafia, the Dawn's silent vendetta, is its storyline. The game does an excellent job of immersing you in the world of the Mafia and making you feel like you're actually a part of the story. One way the game accomplishes this is through the local newspaper. Various points throughout the game, you can pick up the newspaper and read about recent events. Not only is it a cool Easter egg, but it's actually very useful because you can learn a lot about the city and the Mafia from reading the newspaper alone. For example, you'll learn about gang activity and which gangs control which parts of town. In addition, the newspaper will give you hints about where to go or what to do at certain points in the game. By paying close attention to the details, you'll be able to stay one step ahead of the competition. Tip number 6. Recruit allies. Even though you won't have a full crew of capos running interference for you, you can still call upon allies to help you out in times of need. Some allies are recruited automatically as the story progresses, while others are optional. But either way, try not to ignore the allies you're given. Not only will they assist you during combat encounters, but they can also provide you with valuable insight on how to complete certain missions or objectives. Additionally, recruiting more allies will increase your reputation in the community, which makes it easier to recruit even more allies later on. Also, remember that every ally you recruit will influence your wanted level, so be careful who you befriend. Tip number 7. Watch out for police roadblocks. When driving around the city, you'll occasionally run into police roadblocks. Usually, you can drive right past them without drawing any attention. But sometimes, it's in your best interest to avoid the police altogether. Later in the game, the police become much more aggressive and will pursue you relentlessly until you either crash or abandon your vehicle. If you decide to ignore police roadblocks, always make sure to have a backup plan in case you end up in a high-speed chase. Having a garage or safe house nearby can be extremely beneficial in this situation. Otherwise, you'll need to know how to lose the police on foot. Tip number 8. Visit the barbershop to change your appearance. At various points throughout the game, you'll need to visit the barbershop to change your appearance. This is usually done to avoid detection from enemy combatants or to avoid being recognized by civilians. Either way, changing your appearance is a crucial aspect of staying undercover. Be sure to pay attention to the dialogue during these scenes, as there may be important information given here that you otherwise might miss. Tip number 9. Always carry a pistol. Pistols are not only easier to conceal than larger weapons, but they're often necessary to complete certain objectives. There are several side quests in the game that require you to use a pistol. In addition, some assassination targets can only be eliminated with a pistol. It's also worth noting that some areas restrict the use of larger weapons. Always be prepared for any scenario by carrying a pistol on you at all times. Tip number 10. Remember to save often. Mafia. The Dawn's Silent Vendetta is a long game with a ton of content packed into it. There are multiple endings depending on the choices you make throughout the game. And with so many different paths the storyline can take, it's easy to get lost in the sauce. Saving your game often will ensure that you don't accidentally trigger an unwanted ending. Alright, that's all we have for this video. Hopefully these tips and tricks will help you survive the Mafia. Do you have any tips for new players? So, make sure to share them in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe for more great tips and videos. And as always, thanks for watching.